Andy Kerr, Director of Product Marketing and Communications for Bowers and Wilkins. It's lovely to get the chance to chat to you about things that I love: music, sound, cars, technology. There's a little bit of a geek in me, so we'll get to the geeky stuff in a second.
I was going to say, this is pretty much the kind of the triptych of everything here, isn't it? You got car meets, sounds meet, geek. Yeah, we've covered those all off. Absolutely.
We are here in our happy place.
Exactly.
But listen, what I think is wonderful, in my experience with listening to music through your technology in cars, has been wonderful. And I was telling you earlier that my husband, who's a musician, it's almost kind of religion when an album's finished, it's been mastered, that he will then go out in the car to listen to the finished thing, to see how it sounds in the car, and that almost gives the kind of thumbs up as well. Have you heard that a lot from artists?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, actually artists and also just people who like music, right? I think that the reality of the modern world is you seldom disconnect from other kind of conflicting inputs. Other times, the obvious one is doom scrolling, right? But there's loads of other things conflicting with your ability to just sit and listen. And the car is actually, in many ways, the perfect environment for that. A lot of those other things are taken away from you.
Yeah.
Obviously, clearly, you've got to concentrate on driving. But apart from that, the world is yours. And it's a time that's just set aside. Now, in the earliest days of audio, that was probably more commonplace, sort of devoting an hour to listening to an LP in the 70s, whatever. The modern world's changed. So, no, we hear that all the time. The car's my happy place. It's my opportunity place. It's my chance to sit, be me, play what I want, not feel embarrassed about what I'm playing, play it as loud as I want or whatever.
Yeah.
And that applies not only to, the likes of me, but also absolutely to some of the artists that we work with.
I mean, the car is just one of the places that you work with developing technology for the best experience for however many people may be in that car, but also that personal experience of listening on headphones as well, But let's focus on the car and that journey that you've been on, and how Bowers Wilkins have developed and worked with BMW on, because the way that where you place the speakers, what you place, how you place them, the materials that is, that's got to be a conversation that's happening quite early on with the car designers, in terms of what's the experience you want the driver, the passenger to have, but then also how do we fit in with how the design of the car is going to be as well? That's got to be a journey that's gone through quite a lot of iterations throughout the years.
100%. I think if you go back to the start of it all, right, I mean, I was privileged enough to be actually at the original launch of the first car that we did with BMW, which is a 7 Series back in 2015. I was actually at the BMW World location when we announced it. And obviously that's one car.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of those first conversations for the team are about getting to know each other, and understanding the requirements. Let's give you a really simple way of understanding it. You think about a car door, right? A car door in a modern world has airbags, it has crash safety intrusion bars, it has probably electric window motor winders and central locking systems, loads and loads of other things. So if you say to somebody who's spent years of their life designing and packaging that, can you please give us some of that space? Because we want to put speakers in there. They're going to look at you like, come on now. So I think what's happened with each generation and each project that the team's done working together with BMW is that we've kind of appreciated each other's requirements more.
Yeah.
We've understood, and it's become, like I said, a little bit more symbiotic. And we're in this situation now where the conversation is much more straightforward.
Yeah.
Because we're multiple cars in. Do you know what I mean? So now we're saying, we'd like to do that. Okay. Yeah, we get that. And it becomes an easier thing. But to your other question about location, listen, location is absolutely everything in a car. 70s and 80s cars, when you went in them and they had car stereos, remember the old tape car stereos? The speakers were normally down by your ankles.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because that was the only place it would fit. And what's happened cumulatively with each generation of car that we've got is we can get the speakers higher up in the car. Seems a simple thing, but higher up in the car means closer to your ears. Closer to your ears means it's going to sound more natural and more real. It's pretty logical. So, yeah, I think it's exciting because I'm here to tell you, every generation of car that we do outperforms notably the one that we've done before.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot more for the team to deliver.
What's the But we were talking earlier, we were just sitting in the car and listening to different types of music. And that's the thing that I think is extraordinary, is the ability to, it's not one shoe fits all in terms of how we hear the music through the different placements and, technology that's there to let us have the best experience. Every type of music and every piece of music feels like it's got its own kind of like, it's got its own kind of delivery.
Yeah.
In a way. How do you do that?
Well, if you think about, I mean, obviously we're very privileged because we have really good relationships with recording studio engineers. And again, we get a lot of great feedback from those guys. We work clearly with Abbey Road Studios, but there are lots of other studios across the world as well who are using our stuff. And that's taught us a lot. I think what I'm trying to say about that is a different performer will have a different conception about what they call the soundstage, about the image, about how it presents from another.
Yeah.
And you can transfer that into simple genre types, an intimate 2 or 3 piece band. King Hannah was one of my favorite ones recently. They're going to place it all pretty tightly between the speakers and it's going to feel like you're present in the room. Do you know what I mean? That's the vibe. It's like I'm there, I'm with them, they're with me, and it's tight and it's intimate. Whereas Floating Points, which we played just now, it's a completely different thing, and it's got to fill the car and it's got to shoot around. So you're understanding that the speaker system isn't changing. Mm-hmm. It's the intent of the artist and the intent of the recording studio engineers that are changing, and we have to render that whatever it is. So how do you then do it? Well, you basically listen to lots of music first. Then you start understanding how the piece of music is supposed to track, where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So we've got this great advantage. These things that you can see over my shoulder here, these are our 805 loudspeakers. They're used as near-field monitors in recording studios. So we can play a piece of music back through them, and we can understand how the recording studio engineer wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And then with that in mind, we can go, right, now we've got that, let's get that to the car.
Yeah.
And correlate it. Do you know what I mean? Try and match it up. So that's the uniqueness. The advantage is we don't just do cars.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? We do cars, but we also do speakers that are used all the way back to the point of music creation.
Well, you do sound, experience, and emotions, kind of almost how I describe kind of what you do. The experience that we get from listening to sound, whatever that could be, through your speakers, headphones, cars. It hits emotion, and I guess that's the aim, isn't it? You want people to feel.
Oh, listen, I mean, you're talking my language now, right? I've said this so many times. I think I've always said that like the song is one of the earliest forms of human communication. It's the way that people used to share stories a long time before they could write. So I don't care what you're listening to.
Yeah.
What it has to do is communicate something. It has to change the way you feel somehow, right? And it could be uplifting, but it could equally think you're feeling really depressed. It could be that. It could be the opposite end of the scale. But the main thing is it has to communicate some kind of intent from the performer to you. And that's really the thing that we're going for, right? I mean, the person who founded our company a long time ago, John Bowers, was obsessive about that, right? He said we shouldn't ever attempt to change the intent of the performance.
Yeah.
We should try and render it as faithfully as we could. The key point to that, Edith, is there's risks to that, right? Because if the singer can't sing, you're going to hear that. You're going to hear that on the speakers. We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going to change.
There's no auto-tune built into the speakers.
Quite the reverse. But, and simplistically as well, they're not like throwing more bass in where it shouldn't be or something like that. It's as faithful as you can get. And obviously everybody says that. And I've heard that before. Everybody says, true to the artist's intent. Where I think hopefully we score is we do kind of know, because we have speakers in recording studios and we get the feedback direct from the artist, and we have a really good collection of performers that we connect with across the world who use our stuff in their home spaces as well. And that really helps us have that input about what honesty and intent is supposed to be.
How has, you talk about the fact that you were there in the kind of inception of this relationship between BMW and Bowers Wilkins. How has the needs of the consumer changed over that time, and the expectation, of what they expect? I mean, let's, specifically in the car.
That's such a great question, because if you go back even probably 20 years ago, right, and you said to somebody, I have a £2,000 or £3,000 car audio system, they're going to form a certain conception of you, right? And that probably involves thinking that you've got pink neon strips underneath the car and flames coming out the exhaust pipe and a subwoofer that you can hear from 3 streets away. But it's become a legitimate thing. And I think it goes back to that earlier point, right? Your car is your special time. It's your private time. A lot of people spend a lot of time in the car. Advances in certain things such as streaming technology have enabled it. Now that we no longer have to think about carrying cassettes or carrying CDs or any of that other stuff, it's a lot easier to access the music that you want, and therefore using it legitimately in the front end of your car becomes a much more valuable thing.
Yeah.
That's number one. But I think it's also just the idea that I can get a better experience has really started to seep into people's heads. I mean, as a brand, across all the various things that we do, we've worked on over 85 different cars now.
Wow.
And I think, again, that I think definitely reflects what's happening in the wider world, which is that, like I said, people are cottoning on to the opportunity, demanding it more.
Yeah.
And then, of course, clearly what that does is it drives a desire on the part of the brands that we work with for them to want to support that.
Yeah.
The other big thing, I think, is it's not confined to one type of car anymore. Do you know what I mean?
just about to say, weirdly, I was thinking about like a soft top.
Yeah.
So you must have to think about things slightly differently when you can take the roof off and you've got the elements that are fighting against what you still want to be able to hear those tunes. You still want to be able. So that's got to be something you think about as well.
I mean, that's exactly right. Every single vehicle has its own unique specific requirements. I think about a relatively compact 2-door, one of the smaller vehicles out there, like the 2 Series, through to an SUV. The amount of air, just literal air inside the vehicle is vastly, vastly different. In some cases, you've got, just two occupants. In some cases, you've got 4 or 5. And yeah, you're absolutely right. And a convertible is a great case in point as well.
Yeah.
That completely changes the acoustic environment. It doesn't mean to say it's insurmountable, though, because it goes back on the earlier point. You can listen to speakers in your garden. Ideally, be mindful of your neighbours, but you can. They just sound different, right?
Yeah.
So what we have to do is work on how to deliver the best possible outcome for each specific vehicle requirement. So I guess essentially you have like a set of ingredients, if you like, a sort of go-to tool set, but what you also then do is clearly flex it and adapt it to suit the unique requirements of the vehicle that you're working on.
The other thing as well is the growth in things like podcasts and audiobooks.
Yeah.
It's a massive market now in terms of, you talk about people who spend a lot of time in cars. Sometimes it's not about listening to music. Sometimes it is about putting on an audiobook or listening to their favorite podcast and stuff as well. Is voice something that you think about? Oh, I love your facial reaction. Was amazing there when I said that. You're like, let me talk about it.
Voice is so important. Again, go back on that earlier point I was making, right? I mean, if you talk about human communication, what's the key element of every song? It's the character of the voice, of all the things. It's the bit that we hone in on first in all of the aspects of tuning. If we were working on engineering something or tuning something, we begin with instantly recognizable real instruments, the most basic of which are a piano, a guitar, and a voice. And you start with those and then build layers. So you wouldn't, back on the earlier point, you wouldn't dive straight in with floating points. Way too much to deal with, way too much to get your head around. Same applies, of course, to spoken word. So if you really enjoy that, if you really value, I love listening to audiobooks and podcasts, by the way, then of course what you want is a voice that communicates and I don't just mean being intelligible.
Yeah.
I want to understand the character of the person that I'm listening to. I want to feel the emotional intent of that person, even if they're just speaking to me.
Yeah, like they're sat next to you in the car.
Yeah.
Kind of telling you that stuff.
And that's what makes a book well sold by the right person such an enthralling experience, because you just dive into it and become even more immersed than you would otherwise. So no, 100%. Again, I mean, that's a big function of some of the technologies that we use. If you look at the speaker that's just next to you there, you can see that silver cone.
Yeah.
That is the one that renders voice in that particular speaker. It's something that we developed. We're very proud of that particular technology. It's got a great name, the Continuum.
Oh, get in.
And it's not bad, right? But that's something that we deploy in the cars as well, for the reason that it's especially good
for voice
at that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was originally developed for a speaker that's used as a near-field monitor in a recording studio. And I know you've been in enough recording studios in your time. That completely makes sense, right? Because with a near field, that's what you want.
Yeah.
I'm not listening necessarily to the whole dynamic range of the whole song, but I want to hear the individual strands, the elements,
Yeah.
and I want them to be A1 spot on. So that's why it works.
Can we get into a little bit of the geeky nature of it? I want to know who comes up with the names for things.
That would be me.
I love, what a great part of your job. And then also, we talk about these kind of elements that are placed, in different parts of the car for specific reasons. But what are those things? What's underneath those kind of beautiful kind of interiors that we can't see?
Yeah.
What's the actual tech that's in there?
All right, so I'm walking you back one, right?
Yeah.
It would be perfectly possible to make a loudspeaker with a single cone that attempted to reproduce the whole range of sounds from low to high. It's just not optimal. And the reason is you have conflicting requirements. Bass, deeper sounds requires something fairly big because essentially it has to move a lot of air. It has to pressurize the air molecules and essentially create the energy in the room.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's why large animals make deep, large sounds, right?
Yeah.
High sounds require something quite small that can stay in shape and move very, very rapidly, by which I mean many thousands of times per second. And a good analogy to that would be think about a bee or a wasp. Tiny thing, but you can hear it because it's making a high sound. So what we do in a loudspeaker is we separate out the requirement from a single cone into at least two. So if you look at the one you can see there, that silver cone, the larger one, is doing all of the vocal area and then everything lower down, so the deeper bass.
Yeah.
The one at the top, which is much smaller, it's about an inch across, 25 millimeter, is what's called in the hi-fi industry a tweeter. We are good at this sort of stuff.
Did you come up with that name?
No, that's been way predates me, and Twitter, by the way, as well. But that is responsible for all the higher register sounds, the high frequencies. So port that across to a car. In a car, you have multiple tweeters, high frequency drive units, and mid-range drive units, which deal with the vocal. And then in each car door, there are one of those and one of those. I'll come back to a technology in a minute on that one, don't let me forget. Obviously, because a car's quite big, you typically also require something that's capable of playing even deeper sounds lower down the bass registers than that cone can do. So there's normally a third additional cone which just deals with that, a bass drive unit. So in that particular vehicle, you've got over 20 drive units because of the requirements, because if you think about just 3 in a door, it gets you through a fair few pretty quickly. 2 in the dash to try and make sure, like I said to you when we were in the car, remember, someone's always sitting off to one side. So you need to have something down the center line of the vehicle as well to try and make sure that people to the left and the right get that
same
evenness of experience. But it's not about numbers just for numbers' sake. I think that's an important point to get across. It's just what is the commensurate number of bits that you need to make sure that everybody's getting as best as you can the experience of one of those, but in the car. The tech bit. The thing at the top, the tweeter, is composed of synthetically grown diamond.
What?
Yes, indeed. So a small object moving at very high speed will, depending on what it's made from, gradually begin to move around and bend and flex. It's distorting. And I'm sure you've heard the word distortion from before. I'm sure you probably experienced more than enough of it in your time. Distortion is the sound of a cone that's supposed to be moving, bending and flexing in the wrong way and making an unsightly, unnatural, distorted sound.
Sometimes sounds great.
Sometimes, yeah, absolutely.
Distortion pedals, big fan.
Indeed, also ask the king. Sorry. But in this particular case, we want to try and avoid it. So what we try and do is use a series of very stiff materials to try and avoid it. You can use aluminium, which is pretty good. You can use titanium, which is pretty good. But the stiffest material there is, clearly, is diamond. Now, of course, diamonds don't come in dome shapes, Jackie, I'm sure you know. So what we do is work with a company called Element 6, which they're part of the De Beers Diamond Group, and we synthetically grow diamond in a very, very thin membrane. It's 40 micron, which is about 3 human hair, and it's phenomenally stiff. And as a result of that, it's phenomenally accurate. And as a result of that, you know, that detail that you were picking up on when you could hear it?
Yeah.
That's all coming as a result of that.
Oh my God, I love that.
Oh yeah, no, we are deeply down the nerd ladder here.
That is, oh man, unlocked. I'm going down a rabbit hole right now. But you mentioned about the synthetically kind of grown as well, and I just wondered whether, like, in where we are in the world with sustainability and things like that, if that's something that you're really conscious and aware of and strive for as well. As
Yeah, 100%. So I think if you think about, I mean, a really obvious example would be something like that conventional loudspeaker. Let's talk about that. I mean, most of the components of that are very, very easily recyclable. It's aluminium, it's wood, clearly, of course, all sourced from sustainable sources in the first place, obviously.
Yeah.
The magnets within the motor systems, which are the bits that make the cones move, they're all recyclable and can be used elsewhere. So there's not much that can't. I mean, the ironic thing about a loudspeaker is a loudspeaker would last you for decades.
Yeah.
Because there's not an awful lot to go wrong. I mean, people always ask about the bit around the edge of the cone, which is made from a rubber. Yeah, that'll perish, but actually it's more likely to perish if you don't use it.
Yeah.
If you play the speaker every day, it's going to work fine. In there, in the car environment, clearly we're very conscious of things like mass overall, because the heavier the overall system, the heavier the overall kind of environmental impact onto the energy requirements of the vehicle to make the system move around, because it's got to move around. So we try and design it light and try and design it thermally efficiently so it runs really clean and reduces the energy it requires to work. But again, at the end of it, if there's a recycling element required, a good number of the elements within it can be recycled.
Wow. You've got some you talk about having speakers in recording studios. If Abbey Road is somewhere that I believe you have your amazing speakers, which I was privy to recently. I was lucky enough to be invited down to listen to the choir record for the new Jurassic Park film.
Oh, were you now?
Yes.
There we go.
Alexander Desplat, the composer. And I'd never seen a choir being recorded before. I don't get the chance to watch that much live recording of soundtracks. I've got a podcast called Soundtracking, and but I was invited down, and it was extraordinary to be in the room where the singers were. There's 56 of them.
It's wonderful.
And all those different, areas, baritones, tenors, sopranos, altos, everything. And one of the things that was most memorable about that day was Alexander Desplat coming in and getting them all to do dinosaur noises, particularly the low end, that kind of that sort of almost kind of guttural sort of sound that they were able to create. But then what was amazing, so from hearing that to then going into the booth and hearing that come back through the speakers, it was incredible.
So I love the sound of the live room. And again, to your exact point, right? It's a very, very rare and special privilege to go into the live room and hear an orchestra. When you go to see an orchestra as a consumer, as a general person, you have to remember that probably 50 to 60% of the concert hall space that you're in is you. It's the audience. And the orchestra is in a portion of it. Whereas if you go into the live room at somewhere like Abbey Road, especially if the LSO or someone like that are in, basically the space is filled with orchestra and there's not much air in there apart from the air that the orchestra is going to use. So it's loud. I mean, it's way, way louder. It's got way more scale and dynamic than your...
It's even louder than those cars there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of them at the minute, isn't there?
Yeah.
They're doing donuts. That's what that sounded like, a bit of a donut.
I think he's probably just lost his no claims bonus. Orchestra scale is a remarkable thing. But absolutely, we did a great piece. There we go. Wait for the pause.
We are at the equivalent of Dunkin' Donuts section of the course.
One of my favourite things that I've done with the team over the years, we did a piece in association with... I'm going to go for that one again because that was such a good one. We are in the middle of like some show-off, aren't we? There we go. They've gone. Yeah. Right. So one of my favourite things that I did with the team ever was a couple of years back. We did a piece working for the 60th anniversary of Dr. No.
Oh, wow.
And we got the Royal Philharmonic in, and we did exactly what you just described. So we were playing Skyfall, Goldfinger, and of course Monty Norman's James Bond theme. So the first part of the experience was you sat in seats, but inside the live room in front of the orchestra. The second part, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but oh my word, you must do it if you ever get the chance, is we had vacant seat spaces within the orchestra. So you got to sit alongside the brass or whoever. Incredible, because then you really get the sense of the dynamic.
Levitating.
It is. It's mad.
Yeah.
And then the third bit was we went in the live room, and then you hear it coming back through the monitors, which obviously clearly were Bowers Wilkins loudspeakers to make sure I say that. But that was a brilliant experience in its own right. But the other bit I loved about that, and you were talking about it earlier on, is that synesthesia thing, how you see sound and you associate sound. People were clearly getting transported. They were clearly listening to the music through the monitors. And about 2 minutes in, the studio engineer, Gordon, just cut the feed. And people just freaked out because the orchestra's still playing. They can still see them playing, but there's now complete silence. It's like,
Yeah. Take me back.
no, but they're going, has my hearing just failed? What's happened? And then, of course, we bring them back in again, and it was away you go.
I wanted to just finish by what's your what do you call them? The people who invent, are they inventors? Are they technicians? Are they what? I mean, and what are they? People who are thinking about the future with regards to innovation and things like that.
So I'm very privileged to work with what I refer to as the team of mad professors, the wonderful people at the research.
That's great.
Yeah, so I started working there a long time ago, Edith, and you like to think you're reasonably knowledgeable about this stuff, right? And I walked in a room on the very first day, and pretty much the assembled horde were there. And I realized instantaneously that I was like the biggest idiot in the room. Do you know what I mean? Like every single person around me is like PhD, at least one. But yeah, so we have a research and development facility, the Southwater Research Establishment, dedicated. And there's 100 odd people there. That sounds wrong. 100 people, they're not all odd, bless them, who are dedicated on doing this, dedicated on blue skying, on coming up with the next thing. So we have, if you like, the development track. So let's deliver a project and it'll be here now and it'll be here in 2 years or whatever. And we have the research, which is literally, what do you think it's going to look like in 10 years?
Yeah.
What do you think it's going to look like in 5 years? And what tools can you come up with to help us address that? And it's constant and ongoing. And I mean, literally, I've been there, as you probably gathered, a while. It never ceases to amaze me. Do you know what I mean? It never, ever ceases to amaze me what they come with. And there's a lot more to come. One of my favorite sayings, I'm going to leave you with this one. Galileo looking up at the night sky in the, whatever it was, 16th century, forgive me if that's wrong, but I'm going to guess it, isn't an idiot because he can't see certain stars. He's confined by the limits of the telescope that he's looking through. The world that we're in today is only as good as what we can see today. And in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, we'll be able to see more. And because of that, we can do more.
Mm. Well, thank you for your time today. It's genuinely been really insightful and entertaining, and it's such an important part of my world. So thank you for making that such an enjoyable experience. It's great to chat to you. Thanks, Andy.
That's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.